to 1190. This is One Life Radio with Bernadette, Dr. Jeremy Webster, and Danny Miles. Good morning, fellas.
Good morning.
Danny, I'm going to pull you in like I do, man. You got to get over it. Danny's miffed, and I don't blame him. That horrible call last night, Green Bay. It was just unbelievable. Monday Night Football, final play of the game. He was showing it to me right before we went on the air because I didn't watch it. I was asleep by like 10 o'clock last night. And it was just incredible. It's like, Danny, talk about some of the details because it really is hard to believe. You had two different refs making two different calls at the same time. The guy clearly had the ball in his hands, was coming down with it. I don't know how in a million years, unless the guy was on drugs, he could have called that anything other than an interception. And
I think the more humorous thing is just how the social networking world and Twitter world, everything just blew up last night. And it's still going on right now. As far as you've got celebrities, you've got athletes from other sports weighing in on this, and players from other NFL teams, literally right after this happened, tweeting, going, "You've got to be kidding! If this doesn't
wake them up,
if this doesn't get this thing settled." Because
and you're talking about the replacement refs.
The replacement refs. I mean, and bless their heart, it's almost like, and I use this analogy, they are so in over their head. Obviously they're doing the best they can, but this is like someone coming into my studio right now and going, "Danny, we need you at Parkland to help me in brain surgery."
Yeah, really?
Because it's something that I'm not qualified for. These replacement refs are not qualified for the NFL. They're qualified for
high school,
lesser leagues. Now, Division II. That's where a lot of these refs come from. Is Division II football, whatnot. But the speed of the game, the speed of the NFL, you always hear about it. It's so much faster. But this call at the end of the game is not about speed. It's not about. It's right there, and it's about indecision.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these refs weren't in the NFL to begin with, because they're not the best refs in the world. If they were the best refs in the world, they would have been NFL refs. It's kind of like in the '87 when they used replacement players, and everybody thought, "Oh, well, these guys are really good too. They're practically NFL players." Well, they weren't. They would have been in the NFL if they were as good as the NFL players.
Well, and I've heard people also say it's like, well, why don't they get people from the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the SEC, because they already have a good life, in the colleges that they're at.
Yeah, they don't want to screw up their gig.
They don't exactly,
right.
and plus they don't want
for 5 weeks,
and they also don't want to become scabs.
Well, and
that's the bottom line too, is because there's respect for that profession. It's it's a shame, but I'm not going to go on it because all you have to do is turn on every channel, news, business, sports channel on TV. They're talking about it.
Well, because
the impact. Well,
you said it before we went on the air. There was 250. Not that this really should matter, but
no, it does matter.
$250 billion last night. Estimated because the Packers were, the Vegas line was 3.5. Yeah.
Packers were favored by 3.5. Well, they're ahead by 5 on that last play. It swung, so they're estimated up to $250 million swung on just that one play.
Well, and the bigger. I mean, you only play 16 games in a year. This is a huge deal for that team. It could be the difference between them getting into the playoffs and not.
Yeah, one game in the NFL is the equivalent of 10 games in the Major League Baseball.
It's not just the Packers.
It's huge.
It's San Francisco. It's all these teams that, let's say, if it comes down to Seattle and San Francisco, because they play in the same division, and San Francisco wins the division. If that game, if it came down to that one game on week 3, I mean, it's the impact, and plus, it
really is critical.
It's a shame, and they've been saying this all along. Well, we'll see when it comes down to, if the refs cost a game, and it's like, well, there's bad calls, but they'll never cost a game. Well, guess what?
Yeah, they did.
They literally cost a game, and plus, there's a lot of talk about injuries. Because you have these players, they know what they could get away with now.
Yeah, I noticed it on a couple plays. I was like, why haven't they blown the whistle yet? The running backs just stacked up.
Yeah.
And
It's
I'm
not
like,
so much
blow
that.
the whistle, blow the whistle.
No,
He's
it's not so
getting
much
creamed.
that. It's the chop blocks. It's the cheap shots that are away from the play that they know that, okay, they know what they could get away with.
Yeah.
So,
and all those little things can influence the big picture on a play. After the ball, you never know where the ball's going to go, what's going to happen. It could make a huge impact. Just missing one thing like that.
Yeah.
But
it really could.
At least it happened to the Packers, and the Cowboys won. Sorry, Danny.
No, we
Okay.
have to look at we have to have the big picture
if you
here.
say so.
No, I'm with Danny on this. I think I really think it should be overruled. I know that it'll probably never happen, but the commissioners should step in and overrule what happened last night in that game.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I know it won't, but
the
it should.
The commissioner's in a lot of hot water right now because the owners and the commissioner is behind this.
Yeah,
they don't want to. Both sides are standing pat on their demands. So we'll see what happens. But the NFL supposedly a little bit later on this morning or early this afternoon, they're going to come out and say what they think about what the decision is, or what the decision was, and and I'm sure it's going to be politically correct. But it's a shame. Yeah, it really is a shame.
Yeah, I'd be pretty upset if I owned the Packers. I'll just tell you, I would.
There is not an owner of the Packers. Packers are not owned by anything.
They're not?
No. They're the only publicly owned sports franchise.
Municipal, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
And I'm part owner.
Well, no wonder you're so upset. You should be. You have a right to be. That is awesome. I love that. I didn't know that.
I'm one of 100,000 fans that are part owner. I've got my share. I've got my in a frame.
That is so cool.
I'm a shareholder, but it's I don't know.
I want to be a part owner of a team.
So do you get dividends?
Yeah. No, it's a worthless stock, but it's it's priceless. It's worthless, but it's priceless, if that makes sense.
Well, it sounds like, we could all use some big changes. The NFL needs some big changes. And speaking of big changes, we're gonna talk about, after the break, small replacements that can make big changes in your health and fitness. And we're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk till we can't talk anymore.
Little changes that make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Easy stuff.
You are listening to One Life Radio. This is Bernadette with Dr. Jeremy Webster from CompleteHealthDallas.com. CompleteHealthDallas.com. 972-735-0707. We will be back right after the break.
Not long ago.
All right, you are listening to One Life Radio here on 1190. This is Bernadette with Dr. Jeremy Webster and Danny Miles, and we are going to talk about small replacements that can make big changes in your health and fitness. And
much easier to make these small little changes than replacing the refs in the NFL.
Yeah, it is. And not all we talk about, but most of what we talk about on this show is fitness and health and wellness, the body, the mind, the spirit, all encompassing, even how you dress sometimes. But
got to make a better you.
You got to make a better you. So that, you get one shot at this. You really do. And I read a good quote from, I do this. I have these blonde moments. It'll come back to me, and I'll.
Thomas Edison.
No.
Einstein.
No,
okay.
no.
I'm going to stop guessing.
No, I'm remembering the last name this time. I just can't remember the first name, and I will. I'll remember it. But bottom line is, the days are long, but the years are short. And so you make the most of them. You just do. Every way you can. And I have friends that a couple of friends right now, love them dearly, and they're on programs to try to jumpstart losing about 20 to 30 pounds, the other one 30 to 40 pounds. But I wonder ultimately if it's better to just listen to something like this and make all these little changes and one little baby step at a time rather than jumpstart into that, eating just these meal replacements and then a salad once a day, because that's not sustainable for the long term.
Right. Nobody's going to do that for their entire life.
Nobody's going to do it forever. And maybe if it does help you get that 40 pounds off so you can jumpstart and you can say, yes, Now I'm thin enough. I feel good. I look good when I look in the mirror, and I have enough willpower now to sustain it. But I don't know if that's the better way. I really don't know.
I've found that it's typically not the better way. In my patients, the weight loss patients that I see, we've got to make lifestyle changes. And that's the key here. Make lifestyle changes. Yeah, sometimes they're drastic when people just eat horrible diets, nothing but burgers and fries and sodas.
Yeah, and I think an easy transition is better than jumping on one boat and then trying to completely jump over to another.
Yeah. Regardless, it has to be something that's something that you can stick with long term.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get some results, and then you're going to go right back to where you were. And usually when you rebound and go worse, you're even worse than you were before.
Yeah.
When you gain that weight back, it's more fat, it's less muscle. You lose all that muscle quickly when you're losing weight,
right? And you gain
all the fat back. The muscle's much more difficult to put back on.
Yeah, and my one friend, so she's going to do this this cleanse again, where she does nothing but drinks cayenne, the lemon water with the cayenne and all that for 20 days or something crazy like that, 21 days. And I said, man, don't do that. Just start watching what you eat, and I'll start training you. I'll show you how to burst train. I'll show you what Tina shows me. And, I have all the equipment right in my home. I'm like, you can do it while you're here. I don't want you to do that other stuff. This is something that is a lifestyle change. We're talking about.
Right.
And
there's a reason why she has to keep doing that, by the way.
Right, because she just did it a couple of months ago.
You go that long and you're not eating enough protein, you can't. Your liver can't detoxify if you're not eating protein.
Right.
The only choice it has is to either not detoxify, which the liver wants to function. The liver wants to clear poisons out of your body. So what it's going to do, it's going to get that protein from your muscles. You're going to break your body down just to make your liver function, which is ridiculous. Just eat protein so that your liver can function. People out there need to understand this. You can't detoxify without your liver having at least 25 grams of protein just for itself. That's not the rest of your body. It's not the rest of your body. That's just the liver. 25 grams of protein just for the liver to function normally.
That's amazing. Danny, did you have your protein shake this morning?
Yep.
Me too. In fact, a funny thing happened. This is true and funny and crazy, and this is typically me in the morning. I've got 300 things in my hands. I'm trying to make one shot out to my car, and I tried to stop something else from dropping. And my protein shake that was in my cup, my cup that I take with me, I poured it all over my foot. And all over the ground, the concrete, my entranceway, trying to not spill something else, and poured it all over my foot. Had to go back in and make another one. So,
well, at least you made another one.
Yeah, and I made another one. But I got my protein in because it is important. And I oh, man, and I was, running a little late, but I'm like, I've got to get this in my body,
You have to.
You have to. Right, Danny?
Yep.
I'm going to pull you out of that Green Bay funk that you're in. You got to snap out of it, Danny. You got one body, one mind, one life. You need to snap out of that.
No, I'm snapped out of it. I'm just amazed by Twitter.
Yeah, you're staring at
I'm just like
people are losing their minds, and they should. It's
still going on.
Well, that's
that's another subject in itself about how something like that, the stress of fans and the irritation of something like that the following day. It's amazing.
Yeah, well,
it is absolutely amazing.
Well, that was such a blatantly wrong call.
Well, no, but I'm saying when something happens like that, whether it's that or a fender bender or something like that, it just ruins your day, and it's just it just knocks you off track.
Well, it's true
of your diet, of your health, of your whole routine.
It does. It really does. And what's that? So listen to this. This is something along the lines of what you're talking about. Pulled this out of a fitness magazine. It's about says get lucky. It's not in your head. Your go-to pink ball may actually improve your game. In one study, people who were told that a golf ball was lucky made 35% more putts. Feeling lucky is a self-fulfilling prophecy because it increases the sense that you have control over your situation and that you can succeed, says Matthew Hudson, the author of The 7 Laws of Magical Thinking. So go ahead, knock on wood, or take a swing at your favorite ball. I think that's interesting. The power of the mind and able to overcome something like what you're talking about, or if you have a fender bender, to say, you know what? Let it roll off your back so it doesn't do any more damage than it's already done, And if it helps to knock on wood, then do it,
If you have confidence, I know golf is one of the things that they're specifically talking about golf, and I can tell you firsthand, golf is all about confidence.
But you can apply that to anything.
Yeah, if you can see yourself hitting a certain shot and visualize it and know that it's going to go right in a certain spot, or if you're on the green and you're trying to make a putt and you're just determined you're going to make this, you do make it so more often than if you just think, well, hopefully I can hit it up there and hopefully it's not too bad.
Yeah, well,
you'll never make it in that.
The Power of Positive Thinking, one of the greatest books ever written. A lot of people, it helped a lot of people. What, Norman Vincent Peale, is that the author? Trying to remember.
I'm not sure about that one.
I'll have to Google it. Do you know, Danny?
No.
No, man, my goal is to make Danny smile before the end of the show.
Oh, I'm smiling.
You are not. You're miserable in there.
I am. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. But
we can hear that you're not smiling.
I can hear that you're not smiling. They say that you can hear it on the radio. You can hear it over the airwaves. They can hear it, Danny. Smile.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm laughing.
Okay.
I'm laughing without smiling.
Okay, so here's number one. Since we're talking about being sour, sourdough or sprouted breads rather than regular bread are one of the small replacements that can make big changes. Dr. Webster, tell us why.
Well, when you make regular wheat bread, the type of yeast that they use chooses to eat things like sugar that you add to the mix, but it doesn't eat gluten. In the old type of bread, sourdough bread is an ancient type bread from back when bread was first invented. That particular type of I guess you could call it yeast that they use in sourdough bread is very different than the modern type of bread. And the yeast that they use in sourdough bread uses gluten as its energy source. So the yeast eats up all of the gluten. So this is one of those things that may not make a difference in some people. It's still very starchy. Mm-hmm. And if you're trying to really lose trying to get in swimsuit shape, for instance, sourdough bread still may not be the greatest option for you. There's some other options we're going to talk about later that might be even better options. But I just wanted people to know that sourdough breads and even sprouted breads have far less gluten, almost no gluten, compared to regular wheat bread.
And pizza is made with high gluten flour, not even just regular gluten, but high gluten flour. So when you eat pizza, you're getting a lot of gluten.
And more. So if you're gluten sensitive, slightly gluten sensitive, this can make a big difference. Now, a lot of people, if you have gluten sensitivity to the point where you have, say, an autoimmune disease, like a thyroid disorder or something that's caused by autoimmunity, multiple sclerosis or lupus or something like that, then this wouldn't be the greatest option for you because you're still going to get traces of gluten in sourdough bread or Ezekiel bread, which is one of the sprouted breads. You're still going to get some gluten, so you wouldn't want to eat. You have to go completely gluten-free in that case, or especially if you have celiac disease, 100% gluten-free or bust. But in the case of somebody who's not really that sensitive, gluten in your system, improve a little bit of digestion, you might want to try these breads as a replacement for regular wheat bread. I love
sourdough bread. I love the taste of it. When I was in San Francisco a couple of months ago, I brought back a loaf of trying to think of the name of the brand, but they've been making it. They've got the same base that they've been turning over for hundreds of years. I forget the terminology that they use, but it's the same. They take a little bit.
So the same culture.
Yeah, the same culture.
Yeast
there you go. Yeah, the same yeast culture, just like they do with yogurt. But this culture is literally from hundreds of years ago that they just keep replicating. And I'm not kidding you. It is some of the best sourdough I've ever had anywhere in the world. So yeah, and it tastes better too. I think it's it's really crispy when you go to toast it or anything. It's just yummy with butter all over it. You're making me hungry. I haven't had any carbs in weeks and weeks trying to prepare for this thing I'm going to do. So yeah.
Are we teasing that? Or are we
No.
Not telling anybody about that yet,
we're not telling anybody about it. It'll be a surprise when it pops out, when it comes out.
You'll find out about it when it's time, I guess.
When it's time. Yeah, but I'm right now I'm being very disciplined about what I eat the last couple of weeks, just trying to get camera ready. Mm-hmm. So
and it's working.
It's working. I'm still continuing my same, burst training, and we'll talk more about that too with Tina Burnett at the studio. I'm having several blonde moments today. I don't know what's up with me. Maybe I slept too much and I'm in shock or something. I don't know because I slept really well last night. Anyway, and then I dreamt a lot last night too.
You did?
I did, and I remember my dreams too, which that's a sign that your anxiety is low. Did you know that?
Plenty of B vitamins also.
Yeah, that, and I'm doing everything right. Yeah. All right. Well, you are listening to One Life
More
Radio
small
here
changes
on
coming up.
1190, and we are going to talk about all kinds of small replacements that can make a big change in your health and fitness right here on One Life Radio with Dr. Jeremy Webster, Danny Miles, and myself, Bernadette. We will be back right after the break.
Hi, I'm
Welcome back to One Life Radio here on 1190. This is Bernadette with Dr. Jeremy Webster and Danny Miles. And we are talking about small replacements that can make big changes in your health and fitness. We talked about sourdough. I want to talk about corn tortillas rather than wheat flour.
That's another one of those small changes that you can make if you are gluten sensitive also. This is another one of those little replacements that you can do. If you're gluten sensitive, you can eat corn tortillas and not like ruin your, not trigger your celiac disease, for instance.
Okay.
So that could be something that you could do just simply to get away from gluten. It's still not the greatest choice in the world. A tortilla is still very starchy. It's probably not going to help you in your weight loss endeavors for the most part.
Danny, do you like corn better than wheat?
It depends.
I love corn tortillas.
No, I do too.
Oh,
but
they're so good.
Well, let me ask you this: white or yellow corn tortillas? Does that make a difference?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
It's pretty much the same.
Boy, we hear all this stuff about corn and sugar. Are they higher in sugar?
Well, yeah, corn is just another grain, just like wheat.
Right.
So the starch is going to break down into sugar very rapidly. So you are going to have this issue. It's a high carb food still. So I'm not saying this is a great choice,
but it's a better bet.
But I want people to realize that if you have celiac disease or some other kind of gluten sensitivity, you can still go out and have some fajitas and wrap your, or some Mexican food. It just has to be the 100% corn tortillas rather than the white flour or the wheat flour tortillas, because a wheat flour tortilla will wreck you if you have gluten sensitivity or celiac.
I don't know.
What kind of percent? We always talk about, or you always talk about gluten sensitivity. What percentage? Can you put a ballpark percentage of how many people are gluten sensitive that don't know it?
Yeah, it's pretty high. The problem with gluten sensitivity
and how would you know if you're gluten sensitive?
That is the problem. There's
Okay.
a lot of different ways to test for it. And if you're sensitive to the point where you have celiac disease, for instance, it's only going to show up in this tissue transglutaminase enzyme. That means you have celiac disease. It's not. You might not be allergic to it on a basic food allergy panel, but if you are allergic to it on a basic food allergy panel, like an IgG immune response, then it'll show up on that, but it won't show up on your tissue transglutaminase, which means you don't have celiac, but you have this other type of sensitivity. And then there are other sensitivities beyond that. So there's a whole bunch of different problems that gluten can cause. So no, I'm sorry.
So
there's not a simple answer. It's not like one test, yes or no. There's a whole bunch of different problems that it could cause, and you just have to see whether it causes any issues or not.
So the symptoms are not like, if you're dairy sensitive or sensitive to a certain food, you have to literally an hour later, you're in the bathroom. It's not that.
Maybe not. Maybe in some cases, yes. Maybe in other cases,
not in all
no.
cases.
In other cases, no.
That's what I'm getting at.
Sometimes what it does is you don't notice any outward symptoms for even a whole day or even a couple days, but it might be doing something and making your immune system fire off and causing maybe exacerbating lupus or exacerbating thyroiditis or something like that. And we can measure the antibodies of these autoimmune reactions, which means your body's attacking itself. And until you get that gluten out of your system, those antibodies won't come down, which means you're destroying yourself. So it's very hard to tell. It's just one of those things we have to experiment. We have to test certain things so we can get an idea, and then we have to remove it, and then we have to reintroduce it and see what it does when we reintroduce it.
Now, what about the store-bought tortillas? They put on their gluten-free and low-carb and...
I don't know what they're made from. There's a lot of things. Well, corn, for instance, corn tortillas are naturally gluten-free. They have something that they call corn gluten, but it's not even the same. It shouldn't even be called gluten, so it's not the same thing. So that's a natural way to just get a regular tortilla that's gluten-free. I tell people, when I want them to go gluten-free, that what I tell them is don't buy things that say gluten-free. Buy things that are nowhere near those gluten products. So try to do things other than eat a tortilla. Don't eat gluten-free bread, maybe try eating something that's not bread. Just replace it with different things.
Which is what I did on Saturday. I had lunch at Southpaw's Organic Cafe in Preston Center, and I'm on this low-carb diet, trying to just get really lean before this photo shoot. And so I had lettuce wraps, and it was delicious. Oh my gosh! He made this homemade hummus that he used instead of mayonnaise, which is rich, but it's not as it's at least it's got some really good things in there for you. And so with all the vegetables and lettuce wrap and turkey, it was delicious. I did that.
Who doesn't love? Yeah.
And when I do have corn, when I do have tortillas, which is rare, but I don't know about you, Danny, but this is one of my little tricks. And Dr. Webster, you know how they always serve the real street tortillas with the two tortillas together?
Yeah.
I always take one away.
Okay. So
I might feed it to my dog.
Have a soggy taco that falls apart.
Well, no. Well, you can use a fork.
I was just going to say the same thing.
You can use a fork, but the point is, I'm not eating 2 tortillas. I'm only eating 1. All those little things help me to keep more trim.
Right. And who doesn't love
it's a lifestyle change?
When you go to Pei Wei or P.F. Chang's, who doesn't love the lettuce wraps?
Oh, they're delicious.
There's no reason that you can't make those at home. If you want to have a sandwich, my wife loves to do this. She says, I want a turkey sandwich. So she gets a big piece of romaine lettuce, puts some turkey on there, maybe a little Swiss cheese if she wants cheese, chops up some tomatoes, puts some brown spicy mustard and some onions, and wraps it up in this big romaine lettuce. And it's delicious.
It's delicious.
I think it tastes better than a regular sandwich.
I do too. It does.
And if people get used to doing this, now you've completely eliminated that starchy carbs that's making it difficult for you to lose weight.
And 200 calories.
Yeah, and could be causing you digestive issues or immune issues because there's no gluten in lettuce at all.
Yeah.
Plus, you're getting a lot more nutrition. A big piece of romaine lettuce has a lot of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. These are things that we really need.
Well, you really don't need the condiments either with that because it makes it moist. The lettuce wraps.
Well, yeah.
Because sometimes when you get the bread and whatnot, you need mustard. You need So with lettuce, you don't need it.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. I agree. Okay, so the next on our list, and we've talked about this before. We talked about it, I believe, last Tuesday. Spaghetti squash rather than pasta spaghetti.
Why not?
I
love it. Do you like the taste of spaghetti squash?
Oh, I love it. Absolutely
I do too.
Love it.
I think it tastes great. I may
make it tonight for dinner. Just
I
talking
just don't
about
see the
it.
point. And the reason I love it is not that I love spaghetti squash so much because I don't even like regular spaghetti that much. But But I love pasta sauce. I love meat sauce. I love the garlic and the peppers and the onions, and I love tomato sauce.
Yeah.
So I'm like, sometimes I just want that, but I am not interested in eating regular noodles at all. I'm just not even interested. But you put a little bit of spaghetti squash on my plate, and so I can eat that tomato meat sauce, and I am happy.
Well, and right along those same lines that we have on the list, eggplant lasagna rather than noodle lasagna.
And that's where you really step it up.
I've made eggplant parmesan many times, but I've never made eggplant lasagna. I need to do it.
Here's the trick. With eggplant, there's a couple things you have to keep in mind. And what I'm saying with eggplant, some people use the eggplant to replace the meat. I'm saying use the eggplant to replace the noodles.
The noodles.
And then use meat as you want, whatever kind of meat.
Have you ever made it?
Yes.
You or your wife?
Well,
have you made it together?
It was made in my household.
Okay. All right. So how did she do it?
I'll tell you what you have to do with eggplant. It's tricky. It's not like squash or something else. With eggplant, you slice it up and then you put it in a pan and you have to salt it for at least an hour.
Okay.
What that's going to do is it's going to pull out and put a lot of salt all over the top of it. It's going to pull out this bitter kind of a toxin that's in the eggplant. It's going to draw that out. Then after it sets in the salt for a long time, then you wash all the salt off. It's not to salt it to make it salty. It's to draw out that bitterness.
Okay.
Then put it in a pan, throw it in the oven just by itself, just the eggplant, and bake it to where it feels like it's pretty much done. Like any other vegetable will feel done when it's still got a little bit of crispiness, but it softens up. Because with eggplant, what you want to do is you want to overcook it. That's the one thing that you want to cook till it's completely done when it gets real soft and gooey, and that brings out all the flavor. So then once it's partly cooked by itself, then you pull it out, and then you start putting all your toppings.
Yeah, you prep
Then you start making it like regular lasagna with your meat and whatever else you want to put on there. If you want to use cheese, and then throw it back in and bake it like you would a normal lasagna. That will ensure that the eggplant gets completely done, and it is delicious.
Wow.
Can I ask something, though? How long does it take to cook like squash or like eggplant? I mean,
well, to me, it's completely different. With squash, you can cook it anywhere, however you want. Squash tastes good partially cooked, to me. So you can cook it lightly and keep it a little bit crispy. Still tastes great. Eggplant does not taste good until it's completely soft and
where you can cut it with a fork.
Yeah, what would be considered overcooked for most vegetables. Like most people don't want mushy, overcooked vegetables. With eggplant, you want it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where the flavor and the gooiness comes out of eggplant. So it's a little bit different. It's a little tricky, but once you do it a couple times,
You pretty much have to bake it. You can't really cut it up and put it in a pan.
or you can cut it up and saute it.
Yeah, depending upon the squash.
You can
not
do
the
stir fries
spaghetti.
with squash.
Okay.
Well, this next one really intrigues me. I have no idea where we are going with this. Fluoride-free toothpaste. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, a lot. If you look at the dangers of fluoride, there are problems neurologically that fluoride causes.
Well, I knew that.
There are problems with potentially causing cancer. There are problems with bone fractures. But the reason I brought it up for fitness is this.
Yeah, that's why I'm perplexed.
Fluoride is in the same column of the periodic table, the elements, the element chart from chemistry. It's in the same column as iodine and bromide and chlorine. So that it's in the halide category. So all of those compete for absorption with each other. Now, we need chloride in our body for certain electrolyte properties, but we need iodine. Iodine's the other one that has a lot of important properties in our body. And one of the important properties of iodine is that it's the building block. It's literally the bricks and mortar of thyroid hormone. So if you don't have enough iodine, your thyroid will naturally not be able to function optimally. So if you're taking in a lot of fluoride, that fluoride can be competing for absorption with that iodine. And the fluoride doesn't have any biological process. We don't need any of it. We can live perfectly healthy with zero fluoride ever, but we have to have iodine. So if you're intaking all this fluoride, you might not be able to absorb your iodine efficiently enough, and it might drive you into low thyroid, which is going to ruin your fitness. Your energy level is going to crash, you're going to gain weight, and you're going to have all of the other problems of low thyroid. That doesn't mean take iodine necessarily. I do have certain patients taking iodine, but you have to be careful taking iodine. You can't take it if you have thyroiditis, Hashimoto's thyroid disease. It'll make it worse.
Yeah, you should never just take anything anyway. Then never do that. You always want to check with your doctor. You just do.
But just by eliminating your fluoride, you might absorb your iodine more efficiently, and then your thyroid can kick up and start working better.
Yeah, and you always want to use prudent judgment before you just pop anything in your mouth.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Take stuff for a reason.
All right. You have been listening to Dr. Jeremy Webster at CompleteHealthDallas.com. That is Dr. Jeremy Webster, CompleteHealthDallas.com, 972-735-0707, 972-735-0707. We will be back right after the break.
This is Pete the Fat.
Oh, yeah. You are listening to One Life Radio here on 1190. This is Bernadette with Dr. Jeremy Webster and Danny Miles. And we're covering some really fun stuff here today. I love shows like this where we cover a lot of little different things for people that are going in and out of their cars. So they might miss one thing, but they might pick up another.
Everybody needs some tips.
And everybody needs some tips. We all do. We all need to help each other because America needs to be strong. We need to be strong and fit of the body and the mind and the spirit, right?
We do.
Rah-rah, that's my speech for the day. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're hardcore today. You're hardcore. You need smacked. That's what you need. You need someone to come in there and thump you on the...
His
I'm
stock
fine.
just dropped a lot.
Yeah,
Danny
your
lost a
stock
lot of
just
money in backer stock.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. It's just... Yeah.
All right.
It's just interesting.
All right. Well, so we were talking about the fluoride-free toothpaste, and next is another one. Spry gum and mints.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Spry is it's just one of those brands. There are other good brands out there. This is
Did you
just
say
one.
Sprite?
Spry.
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 Like
I can
mine.
drink Sprite?
Aren't you not spry today?
And the only reason I bring that up is because it's the one that I'm familiar with.
Okay.
When we all know that we probably need less sugar. I hope everybody knows that.
Absolutely.
Less sugar is great, but when people replace sugar gum with sugar-free gum, usually it's something that has aspartame in it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes even sucralose, which is chlorinated sugar, which I don't think is so great for us. But the aspartame is just pure poison.
I agree.
So if you're going to chew gum, and we can chew a gum that doesn't have any poisons in it, and it doesn't have any sugar in it, I think it's a great small change that we can
What
make.
is in this? A xylitol?
Just xylitol. That's the only sweetener they use, and that's why I love this one. You get a lot of those gums right off the rack at the grocery store that they say with xylitol on the front label, but you turn over to the back label and read the ingredients.
Right.
It does have xylitol in it, but it also has aspartame and sucralose and acesulfame K and all these other poisons. So this one is just xylitol only. So I know it's clean, it's safe, and you can use that. It's great to chew a little bit of gum after your meal.
Well, and I've seen this at Natural Grocer. I've seen it at Whole Foods. I'm not sure where else I've seen it. I've seen it at the Green Spot and
Market Street.
Market Street.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
That's a cool grocery store that the cool people go to.
Really?
Yeah. If you live in Allen.
Oh, and you live in Allen. I was going to say because I'm very cool and I've never been there. So I
think it's up in the suburbs mostly.
Yeah, and you know what? We were talking about Italian food. I'd like to give Jimmy's Food Store a shout out because and they were in D Magazine, also in the Gem and the D Moms magazine that came out, the first issue just last week. The Gem Juice was in there. Jimmy's was in there. In fact, Jimmy's was in the Observer as well. I think they got one of the top picks this year. Great little place. If you don't know about it, Google it. Jimmy's Food Store. It's in East Dallas on Bryan and Haskell, I think. Great, a couple of brothers that own it, and you can get all kinds of great pasta from New York, straight from Brooklyn. Awesome cheese. It's just really, really good salamis and pastrami and wine and Italian bread, and it's a great place, and they're great guys. So I encourage anyone who wants some authentic Italian food to go there. So, and then they have like this little secret clandestine place in the back where you can get a sandwich and you feel like you're a part of the mob if you go back there and eat in that special room that only certain cool people know about.
Have you ever been back there?
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Of course. Many times. Many
cool.
times. No, well, I just, and I'm Italian here. They're Italian, and I'm from New York, and their stuff all comes from, well, not all of it, but most of it comes from New York or Italy. They have all the authentic Italian stuff, all the Italian beers. If you want to have an Italian themed party, that's the place to go to get everything.
What's the Italian? Is Peroni a good Italian beer?
Oh, there's several, and they have all of them, and they have all the Italian sodas, Italian candy, Italian flags. I mean, they've got everything. All right. So
go there
anyway,
if you're not gluten sensitive.
If you're not gluten sensitive. I'm trying to think. Well, they sell and they have fresh produce, and some of it they grow like back behind, like some of the tomatoes and stuff. They have a very small little produce. Yeah, it's a very cool place. But they always have eggplant, so you could go there and get your eggplant. And Jimmy's brother, it makes the sauce. So
my wife's Italian, so I have to take
your
her.
wife's Italian?
Yeah, I have to take her there.
I didn't know that.
Monticelli Chianelli.
Ah, well, I'm half Italian, half Irish, so I'm a little bit of both.
Maybe I can
my
bring
father
her.
always made a bigger deal out of being Italian. My mother just put up with it.
Yeah. If I bring her, maybe I can get back in that back room.
Yeah, you go in the back room and have yourself a pastrami sandwich.
Yeah.
All right, Danny,
would
you talk a little bit, please?
Yeah, no, I'm just like listening.
You're listening?
I'm just listening.
You're just listening?
Yeah.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay.
It's a
All
good
right.
thing.
So next on our list, and this is important, 20 minutes of burst training rather than 45 minutes of aerobics. Let's go over this again. This is so important.
Well, first of all, if you can get better results and save 25 minutes, who doesn't want to do that? First of all, I mean, right off the bat, you've both things are important. Better results. Who doesn't want better results? Better results in less time. It's a no-brainer. So let's start increasing the intensity of our workouts, bursting rather than this just monotonous, constant go aerobic training that everybody is so used to doing.
That's what they do.
Yeah. And that, let me just say this. That whole aerobic craze is only because in the 1970s when they started doing studies on exercise, that's the only type of exercise where they could hook all these machines up to people and get valid data.
Readings, yeah.
Because you're going kind of slow.
I'm sorry, I like my Thigh Master.
That's not aerobics.
Yeah. No. In fact, that would be like burst
All right,
training.
I still like my Jane Fonda workout video.
You do?
With my leg warmers.
But in the 2000s, we have plenty of scientific data that shows that other type of exercise is much more effective and can be more effective in far less time than just steady state aerobic.
So give our listeners an example of what the burst training, one example of what a burst training exercise would be as opposed to an aerobic.
Okay, simple. Go out for a real slow jog for 45 minutes. That's aerobic training. Mm-hmm. Go for a really fast run where you can't run more than 30 or 45 seconds. That's burst training.
Right, and then you recover, and then you do it again.
And then you burst again. So you burst again. And rest.
Right.
Burst and rest. And you can do this with weights if you do complex movements. So if you're doing shoulder presses, just burst to where you're getting somewhere between 25 to 40 repetitions to complete exhaustion. Your muscles are going to be burning like crazy. And then rest, and then do it again.
Your muscles will be burning like crazy if you do it correctly. If you're just taking there, and of course you can't see what I'm doing, but just swinging the weight, swinging it, real sloppily, you're not going to get that. It's about doing it very precisely and slow movement where you feel it, it's burning, and it burns quickly if you're doing it right and you're doing it slow.
You'll get it. You'll get a wrench back.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just fling stuff around and swing your body around. That's not what we're talking about.
How many times do you go to the gym, and a lot of our listeners will go to the gym, and they'll see the guy or gal next to them, and if they're hoisting the weight up.
Oh, yeah.
And they're using their back.
So
and they're,
sloppily.
Yeah, and not
Chins
proper
jutted out
technique.
forward. They're going to injure their neck.
Yep.
They're going to injure their rotator cuff from slinging that weight around.
Yeah.
Forget it. Just do the weight to where you're under control. Get a trainer. Get Tina. She'll show you the proper form if you don't know how to do it.
She's so awesome.
And you'll get a lot more result from it because your muscles will be moving the weight rather than just swinging around with your joints.
And for those that don't have the time or can't afford Tina, we have a great video, a YouTube video that is on the One Life Radio website that shows some of the stuff that how she trains me, how she trains everyone. She's just brilliant, and she knows the human body well. She was picked as one of the top trainers in all of North America, and we're lucky enough
And she's a Hall of Famer.
And she's a Hall of Famer, and we're lucky enough to have her on our show. So
now, let me ask you this, Dr. Webster. When you say rest, what, a minute, 2 minutes, or you get your heart rate down to a certain level? or
until you're rested enough that you can give the next burst full effort.
Okay.
That's what I tell people. If you think you can give it as much effort as the first one, then you've rested long enough, and then go at it. If you jump in too quick, then you're not going to get as much out of that next set, so it's not going to be as efficient, and it's not going to be as effective.
Okay.
So sometimes it depends on your conditioning. Sometimes it's up to 3 or 4, even 5 minutes, depending on what type of exercise you're doing and your fitness level.
All right. We've got 3 left on this list. Let's get through them. Okay, raw whey protein rather than regular whey protein.
If you've pasteurized the milk, which is what almost every single whey protein out there is made from, the milk doesn't have the enzymes that it had when it started, but more importantly, the cysteine, which is a detoxifying and antioxidant amino acid, is not going to be present anymore, or not absorbable anyway. And these native proteins that are in the fresh raw milk have been broken down, so you don't get this healing effect that's good for your gut, good for your immune system, and good for healing your muscles that have been broken down from exercise. So go with a raw whey protein rather than just an off-the-shelf whey protein.
I lost my button first. That's awesome.
I'll
what
push
about
your buttons.
Did you press my button?
No, I'm just saying I can push your buttons.
I watched you cough and push your button.
Okay, and I guess, did I do that?
Yes.
I inadvertently did it without even thinking about it. Okay, see, I'm human. It happens.
Isn't it funny how we forget things like 2 seconds later?
Yeah, I mean, how dumb is that?
It's like people walking around with their sunglasses in their hands, and where are my sunglasses? Where are my sunglasses? They're in your hand.
I put my sunglasses in the refrigerator last week. Okay, I did. I'm like, where the hell are my sunglasses? And I'm like, where? And so I start thinking about where I was. And I'm like, am I stupid enough that I put them in the refrigerator?
Have you ever put the milk in the cereal cupboard?
No.
I've seen that happen before too.
But I'm like, really, Bernadette? Your glasses are in the refrigerator. You better get a hold of yourself. Okay. And so, the next one is green tea rather than coffee.
Green tea doesn't have as much caffeine. So over the long term, it's going to be better for you because it's not going to be as much impact on your adrenal system or your stress system. But more importantly, in short term, it's higher in antioxidants, so it's healthy for you. And it has this thing called EGCG, which is great for boosting the metabolism. It has this thermogenic effect, which can just increase the rate at which you burn calories. So that's an easy transition that people can make to just get a little bit more fit and a little bit more healthy.
That's why maybe the Japanese are so darn fit. They're all so small and thin. I mean, you rarely see someone overweight that's Japanese.
I think that's one reason.
That's one reason, yeah. It really
among
is.
Many.
And, yeah, among many. Among many. In fact, we did a show on that last week, which I'd like
fish
to
and
retouch.
vegetables rather than hamburgers and fries.
There are so many cultures around the world that just eat and do things, especially fitness and nutrition related, so much better than we do as Americans. We've got to make some changes. We really do. Okay, so in the last one is get tested to see exactly which nutrients you need.
Sometimes you never know what you need. I don't even know what you need, and this is my job. That's why I rely on testing a lot. I did a test on a lady. She was having bad anxiety. She was having weight problems, but I said the anxiety has to be related somehow. So let's try to figure this out. And we gave her some nutrients that normally would help. But what I found on the testing was that she needed this particular type of folic acid or folate. And when we started giving that to her, all of a sudden the anxiety goes away, and then she's able to exercise more. She's able to start losing weight. So it was only because we tested her and found out exactly what she needed.
All right. Well, as I said in the beginning of the show, the days are long, but the years are short. Embrace them. And it was Kimberly Whitman Schlegel that said that in Dallas Moms magazine that just came out. You get one body, you get one mind, you get one life. Get out there and make the most of it.